Nike has recently updated their terms of service. In particular, the notable change began by reading, Nike stores, including any consumer rights or policies offered in Nike stores, are intended solely for the benefit of end consumers, and therefore, purchases of products for resale is strictly prohibited. What does this mean? To preface, I will propose my hypothesis why Nike is taking this stance and strategizing to deter reselling. Perhaps one of the most plausible arguments is that this is simply a PR move. Of course, most general consumers despise resellers, hence Nike taking this stance illustrates that they're attempting to resolve the problem, thus generating positive PR. This would make sense considering the Wall Street Journal reported this change in TOS rather quickly, almost like somebody let them know about it, perhaps intentionally. However, I do not believe that this was their primary motive in fact. Rather, I believe it really comes down to the free returns Nike offers, as well as the ability to cancel orders within the first 30 minutes risk-free. The canceling of orders, of course, makes selling the product for them more inconvenient. Now, they have to add the stock to some sneakers reserve restock or something of the sort, delaying the respective revenue, which is really crucial right now more than ever for Nike, given Nike's recent 20% drop in net income, which will only continue to get worse with rising interest rates. What does this mean? Well, it means that companies will now have too much product for the demand that they have, or I should say, lack of demand they have, since the demand is now beginning to return back to normal. When companies cannot sell all their product, of course, this is going to negatively impact their overall net income. And that's where things can get really scary really fast. If enough companies misjudged how long that surplus of demand will last for, we very well may be seeing a minor recession as a result of this. Although, I feel that the free returns Nike offers are significantly more costly to them. Remember, we don't have to pay for shipping when we return the items. That's part of Nike's business model. When Nike intentionally adopted this business model, they were mostly taking into account the small minority of buyers who purchased an incorrect size, product defects, etc. However, within the last decade, this small minority of buyers who return products has increased exponentially. Of course, this is due to resellers. One reason every reseller loves Nike is the fact that it's literally risk-free. So many people purchase high-risk items, they end up bricking, so rather than lose money, the reseller just returns it to Nike and loses nothing. It's really not free to make these returns at the end of the day, it's just not you paying. Nike has to pay. Now, you may ask, why would Nike try to deter resellers now and not before? This has been going on for a while now, hasn't it? The answer has to do with the prior and current state of the macroeconomical environment. Over the last decade, Nike has been increasing revenue and net income. They have been attracting more investors. Things were going well. Then you take a look at 2020 to 2021, where the Federal Reserve begins printing 80% of our entire money supply. Consequently, one of the first areas to experience inflation was the secondary market for luxury goods, such as sneakers. Things that would normally be bricks were now reselling all of a sudden. It was a reseller's paradise. But similar to a fun night out with lots of drinking, once the night is over, you will feel that hangover the following day. And now comes 2022, the hangover. The money printer has dried up and interest rates are on the rise. Consequently, these luxury good markets are down tremendously from their peak. Things are bricking much more often, all while resellers, especially the new Timmies, have gotten used to those heavily inflated levels in 2020 to 2021. Hence, this is leading to higher return levels than ever before, all while Nike's net income is dropping, so they need to reduce expenses, not increase expenses in their new shipment plans. So, what do you do in Nike's shoes? No pun intended. Well, you can't do much aside from hoping that the great Timmy filtration takes effect soon. Well, the problem derives from resellers, right? Wouldn't our problem be resolved if we could stop the resellers? Well, we can't stop them, but we can deter them, and that's the theme of this entire terms of service change. And it's also why the Wall Street Journal mysteriously reported this so soon: deterrence. Nike wants you to see this. They want you to be scared to attempt reselling because they have no other options to stop you. Now, what does this mean for resellers? First, there is the possibility that this means absolutely nothing and it's just a deterrent. In the TOS, Nike states if Nike determines that a purchase or order is intended for resale. And so a rational question for this would be, well, what determines that a purchase is intended for resale? With something this subjective, not only will they unsuccessfully stop all resellers, but they'll also be punishing potentially innocent individuals, perhaps somebody who's on vacation and so their IP address is very far away from where they reside, and thus Nike would falsely assume that they were a reseller. Maybe they thought they were using a proxy of some sort. There's plenty of examples, obviously, where this could go very wrong. And then there is the possibility that they actually do intend on taking action. However, I do suspect that there will be very little of such action, if any, considering these will lead to expenses as well. If you look at the consequences they list here, many of these are things that they have been doing already. We've seen address banning occur to some people, for example, we've seen IP bans, we've seen canceled orders for unknown reasons, etc. And of course, none of this has been effective in stopping resellers. It is nothing new. The most interesting consequence they list that is new is the restocking fees. Now, we've seen other small boutiques try their hand with this, and it always ends up failing. Why? It's the easiest for a consumer to charge back on, and it's a near guarantee that the consumer is going to try to charge back. Obviously, if a ton of people charge back at a tiny boutique, that won't be good for their payment processor's relationship. But perhaps Nike is big enough where it won't matter, and they do it anyway. I think it's unlikely, and this is just a bluff, but we shall see. So, what's going to happen now that Nike is banning all resellers? Absolutely f***ing nothing new. Nike, don't worry though, the great Timmy filtration is in effect and will soon lead to less returns. Anyway, that'll conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two, subscribe and enable post notifications to stay 100% updated on all these types of releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast residential proxies from Kip Proxies. You could also now join eDeals with the link in the description below for only $14.99 per month. Furthermore, feel free to follow Endurance at Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua if you want to keep up with the progress or restocks. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for you. This way, you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was going over today. With that, though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck on all upcoming releases.